Hey, welcome back. We're going to do, we're going to continue our Codecrafters challenge on build your own shell in Zig. I've been doing like one of these per video. We're just going to knock out the rest of these in this video. They end up being about 5 or 10 minutes each. So I thought it would be a good use of our time to get through all of them. So let's do that. So I've got Codecrafters pulled up on the screen. I've got my terminal put up on the screen. A different project. So let me get back to the appropriate project. I've got Codecrafter shell Zig. So, okay, what we did in the last video, we implemented the PWD built in. We're going to do the same thing with CD for absolute paths, relative paths, and the home directory. Zig is going to make the first two very easy for us. We'll solve one, and I think we'll get both. That being said, I am not sure how it's going to handle the home directory, so we're going to have to figure that one out, or maybe it'll just work for us. All right, so source main.zig. So the way that we've been doing this, I feel like I say this in every single one of these videos, we have a function per command that we support, built-in command. And we have one called type, which tells you whether it's a built-in or not. So we're adding CD. So let's go ahead and add that to our supported types struct here. And then we need to add a new function. So I'm going to call this one handle CD. I don't think we need an allocator for this, so I'm going to assume we do not for now. Slice of const u8, return an error union with void. Okay. Okay, so I think we have a couple options here. We can leverage stdfs and work with the file system and get the current directory and look up a new directory from that directory, or we could use std POSIX. So if we come over here and zig std POSIX, let's take a look. POSIX? This is more of a cross-platform than using OS-specific APIs. However, it is a lower level and less portable than other namespaces such as stdfs and stdprocess. Generally lowered to libc function calls if and only if libc is linked. Most operating systems like Windows, Linux, and WASI require always linking libc because they use it as a stable syscall ABI. So I think we can take two different approaches. So let's do the POSIX one first. So we can do something like std POSIX change directory. I think that's it. So I think we can just say args here, pass this some args. And then if we were to take this approach, what does this return? Okay, change current directory error or void. So we need to try something like this. Okay, so I think that we could just do try standard POSIX change directory. That being said, since that is a lower level API and only functions if libc is linked, let's take a different approach and let's do the FS implementation that I had originally mentioned. So instead of that, what we can do here is we can do standard FS current working directory to get the current working directory. We can open another directory from that. So we have args here, and then we don't need to provide any args to this. There's a chance of this error, so we could try that. However, I think when we cd into a directory that we don't have, we end up writing. So we could do standard out. We need to get the writer. Actually, I probably need to start passing these writers in as well, instead of getting a reference to one in every single handler function. But for now, we can do try writer print comp time, something like, does it actually tell us what the output should look like? Yeah, it does. Okay, perfect. CD : S, no such file or directory. Okay. hopefully this is legible. I'm going to make the font a little bigger. And then we need to provide an arg type here as well. So for our arg type, what we're going to do is pass in args. Missing a semicolon. Okay, cool. So yeah, I think that should cover that. That'll open the directory for us. We actually need to get a handle on it. So we can assign this to a variable here. Missing a semicolon. We are opening that directory, so we need to close it. So we'll close it in just a minute. And now that we have a handle to our directory, we can do something like try directory set as current working directory. And I think that should take care of it. So what we're going to do here is give this a git add source main git commit attempt change directory. This shell challenge ends up being nice small chunks of work, as opposed to like the Redis challenge that we've been doing in Zig is a little bit bigger. Like the chunks of work are they're just bigger, especially the piece around writing a parser. That was pretty interesting. It was quite a bit of work, but this one is nice and small, which is kind of nice because I feel like I can knock one of these out in 5, 10, 15 minutes, depending on which one it is. It makes it a little easier to work into my schedule. While this is running, I should probably mention that if you don't have access to Codecrafters, it's free to sign up. I have a link in the comments below, and if you use that and decide to convert to a paying customer at some point, I get a kickback. There's no pressure to convert. And in fact, if you want to, I've started a team on here too, so I'll put a link to my Codecrafters team, and we can, see our progress together as we're progressing through these. So if that's something you're interested in, check out both the links below, and that will hopefully help us stay connected. Okay, so surprising absolutely no one. Actually, maybe surprising you, but not surprising me. I forgot to add a line break. I feel like I do this every single time, and that should take care of the issue that we just saw. So I'm just gonna add this again, recommit this again, maybe, and give this another push. This run should be faster because it caches our build steps. So we'll see how this turns out. Okay, I was a little overzealous on my solution. So we expected prompt, but received command not found. Let's take a look. Maybe I am not handling something correctly. Oh, I forgot one of the most important steps. So if we go back to our handle present working directory here, and then hit go, and then go to references, we can see that we are adding it to this big chain of ifs right here. I forgot to add the current working directory one to the if chain. So let's take care of, let's take care of that. So we can do standard mem equal, weird. Command, and then CD is the one that we want to support. And now that I'm thinking about this, we could probably structure this in a bit of a better way. So we have our built-ins that we have. And what we could do is we could essentially create like a mapping of command handlers to command text, like PWD, CWD, etc., and then probably just execute the handler for the appropriate item in that mapping. And if there's not one, then we fall back into this case. Might be a fun little refactor at some point. But for now, let's try this hopefully one last time. Add, commit. My code failed to compile. So let's see if I can figure out what is wrong. Okay, so I had to swap my Zig version down to 0.13 to get things building properly, since Codecrafters is still using 0.13, or at least my Codecrafters config is still using 0.13. So I was able to downgrade that locally and then run a build, and I see incompatible types on 106. So fs dir and void. So let's head to 106 and see if we can figure out what I'm doing wrong. Okay, I see what I'm doing. Sorry. So the catch is in an assignment here, and I need to return a directory or short circuit this path. So what I'm going to do is return error dot no such file. Or perhaps maybe what would be better is, instead of that, I can just come to the end of this line here, catch E, and that's going to be an error type, and then I can just return E. That should take care of it. So let's give this a local build. Seems promising that passed. Git status, git add source main zig, git commit. One last attempt, please. And then we will git push. Okay, so it's not going to be that straightforward. Wow, I feel like I thought this was going to be an easy one, but it is taking a little longer than I expected. So we can't return the error, or rather, if we return the error, what we need to do is we can go to references here, and then maybe not try this, but just catch it. So we're not consuming, or so we're not writing the error as well. So like just following this back up, right? So we try handle CD, and then that's happening while it's true. And then if we run into an error, it's printing the error because we're trying that in this case. Maybe the right thing here would be to actually structure this a little differently, where we do try this here. We don't catch anything. And then we handle the catch up here. So we're going to try to do a CD. If we catch an error, then what we'll do is paste these. Oh, that formatting is way off. Let's see if it fixes it for me. Not yet. We actually don't need the writer in that case either, so we can head back up, go to references, get access to the writer right here, and then I don't believe we need that capture in this case. So let's go ahead and remove that. Give this a push, and let's see how this one turns out. Sweet, everything passed that time. So we can go ahead and mark this stage as complete. And it's actually running tests for the next one as well. So what we can see here is, I think this one will complete itself as well. We'll give this just a minute and see if it passes. Yep, test pass on relative paths as well. It's interesting. This one's marked as hard. Zig makes this really, really easy with the proper abstractions. And then the one I'm really curious about, we'll see if the test runner passes this one as well. Okay, test did fail on that one. I'm going to run the tests here locally just so I have the output in my terminal. It's a little easier to read, although I guess I could view logs. Okay. May have already thrown away the logs. Let's see how this turns out. No such file or directory. Okay, let's head back into our cd command, and essentially what we're going to want to do is we need to handle the case of the tilde slightly differently. Okay, so we can do something like if standard mem equal, we're working with U8s here, we want args, and we want to compare that to tilde, then we need to handle this differently. So there's a way to do this with the POSIX module again, and we could do that to get access to the home directory, but the home directory should also be in our environment. So the home directory is specified by the home environment variable. Okay, so let's take that approach. Try to avoid the POSIX module as much as we can. So essentially what we're going to do is we need to get an environment map. So we have an env environment map like so. This is going to be standard process get env map. We need to give this an allocator, so it turns out we do need one. And then we need to defer deinitializing that at some point. So we'll go ahead and take care of that here. We only need the home directory in this case, so that's fine. We can keep this in the conditionals and avoid an extra unnecessary allocation in some cases. And then what we would do here is look up the home directory. So this would be something like path is equal to env map get home. This can be null, so or else. It doesn't specify, so in our case, let's just do the current working directory. And then we can change this here to use path. And then, of course, we need to say var path is equal to args up here, and then we can conditionally change it if necessary. Okay, this seems pretty good. We do need to take in an allocator, which is a standard mem allocator. LSP seems to be falling behind, but that's okay. Let's go to references. And we need to give this an allocator, which we already have in scope for all of the other commands. So we'll take that approach. Okay, and I am always the optimist. So I like to think that this is going to pass now that we've made these changes, but we'll find out. Okay, yeah, definitely always the optimist. Expected prompt, but received segmentation fault. How fun. Okay, why are we seg faulting? Go to definition. Does this defer execute at the end of this if? It would, wouldn't it? Right? Sig defer. Yeah, when they're no longer needed. So is it the end of the scope or the end of the function? The current block. Okay, that makes sense. That totally explains why we are seg faulting. Okay, so we can move the allocation out to a higher scope, which might be an unnecessary allocation in the case that we're not needing to do this, or we could move this logic into here and duplicate it. I think what I would rather do in this case is take this and add the allocating of the environment map outside of the scope of that if. So that should reassign the path. We don't deinitialize those values until we execute this. So I feel like this should take care of that, or at least the seg fault. Let's give this another go. And we'll see how this turns out. Sweet, that did take care of it. So that knocks out the home directory, which knocks out the entire navigation module. So this video and then the last video cover the entire navigation module. Hopefully this was helpful. I'll move on to quoting in the next one, and we'll probably just knock out all of quoting at once, I would imagine. Yeah, so if you found this video helpful and you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe. I do these Codecrafters challenges, of course, but several other things. I've been building a lot with Zig lately. all over the place. So CLIs, HTTP servers. I'm working on doing some stuff with an Arduino. And if you want to learn more about Zig and how it can be used for all of these things, I'm happy to talk about that. We also might talk about Go or Svelte or Flutter at some point, but to be honest, I haven't been writing much outside of Zig, outside of work, so I'm not sure what else I would talk about. Anyways, hopefully this video is helpful. Let me know in the comments below, and have a fantastic day.